Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Lenox Justifier of Innocence, created by Zeus and Demeter to save humanity. I am here as the character Josephine today, and this is Mr. Buddy, he's the guard dog. So before we get started, I did just want to say that I hope you guys are having an amazing week, and thank you all of those of you who have been following along religiously. I hope that you are enjoying the stories thus far. And we are going to continue to do our best to put out as much interesting content as possible. So thank you again for following along. Now, if you're new to this channel, this is a fantasy justice channel where superheroes and mythological gods unite in the fight to save humanity and restore the balance between good and evil. It is designed to allow you to either just listen to the stories, or you can watch scene images, artwork, and dramatizations that make the stories come to life on the screen. Before we start, I do want to also do a quick reminder that although these stories are loosely based on real-world occurrences, all of the characters are fictional, all of the missions are carried out in fantasy and imagination. Some of the topics are sensitive in nature, so just want to forewarn you on that. In today's story, it is part 3 of the mini-series titled The Predators. We are going to be starting to talk about the consumers. Now you'll want to make sure that you stay to the end so that you can hear what is coming next in the series. I'll see you at the end. Enjoy the show. Even when it's happening right under your nose, the operations are usually hidden, secretive, and often ignored. The corruption, in conjunction with lack of resources, lack of morals, lack of education, compounds the problem. People don't want to acknowledge the truth. They prefer to stick their heads in the sand and pretend like it doesn't happen. I mean, look at what happened with E Island. So many high-profile people went there. I'm sure not all of them were aware of what was transpiring there, but I'm sure they had some suspicions, and yet they kept quiet. Why is that? Fear? Perhaps they're just plain old cowards, embarrassed? Selfishness? Vanity? Some people die clueless in their own little world, thinking outside forces will not affect their little bubble, until it does. I fear for women and children today. With technology, all the social media platforms, parents who both have to work all the time because they can barely survive. People have lost the ability to communicate properly. I mean, when I was a kid, I remember my parents teaching me about the dangers of strangers. Stick to the buddy system. Don't make eye contact. We were taught to go to the police if we felt in fear or in danger. Call 911. The schools also taught us of those same dangers. Now, public school systems are part of the problem instead of the solution. The more people try to pretend it doesn't exist, the worse the problem is becoming. About a month ago, I watched a woman pour her heart out at a government convention, only to be dismissed. She was talking about how she volunteered her time to go down to the border to help kids that were stranded, parentless, help them get assigned to sponsors who were going to help these kids. And she was totally naive to what was really happening. When she realized that her good deeds were actually contributing to the endangering of the welfare of these kids by placing them in homes where they were going to be mistreated, she went to the government reps to publicly inform them of her discovery. I was so appalled. They gave her 5 minutes of floor time. 5 minutes, and as soon as those 5 minutes were up, councilman said, "Your time is up." No response to her plea, no emotion or acknowledgement for what she was saying. Nothing. It was infuriating to see, and it makes you wonder if that's why they want open borders, no walls. Maybe it'll make it too difficult for them to replenish their supply of humans. They try passing off open borders or weak borders under inclusivity or point the race finger. But the reality of it is, it would make their sinister dealings more challenging to complete, and they can go unnoticed. Here in the States, people go missing every day, right under your nose. It's strange how it's even possible, considering there is zero privacy anywhere. You have drones, you have cameras everywhere, people with their phones out, filming, making videos, yet every moment recorded, over 800,000 vanish yearly. At least when I was a child, they made an attempt to find these children. It was known as, those milk carton kids. There would be faces of women and children on every milk carton so that you could see it. You would see it in your schools, you would see it everywhere. And made you aware of what was going on and made you aware of the dangers in society. We had more of a sense of community, more values back then. And we tried to keep our women and children safe. Today, that we have all these technological advances, like your Amber Alerts, your Silver Alerts for the elderly, and yet so many more children and women go missing, more than ever. And worse, less are recovered. Ask yourself why. I have my opinions that I will share. I think, in part, a large part of the problem is that the family unit in this country is broken. From the high divorce rates, to unmarried single people having children, to households that have to spend all their time working instead of raising their families because they don't have a choice. These kids are raising themselves, left to survive, and with little to no guidance. Their parents, they just use an iPad or their phone. They go to their social media, and it makes them easy prey. Social media is a huge platform for human transportation industry and modern day slavery. They target children, and they target women who are desperately seeking attention, who desperately want to be famous, with promises of modeling, being an actor, being a brand ambassador. All these different jobs are presented to these women and children under the falsities of opportunity, when the reality of it is that they get forcibly placed into porn industries and other dark industries in the dark web, or worse. I'm a grown woman, and I can't tell you how many countless predators have tried to reach out to me under false pretenses, offering opportunities that don't really exist. And they work in groups, and they spam young women and kids. They're searching for their next victim that they can exploit for monetary gain and perverse pleasures. Some of these predators, they try to pass it off as if they're going to take care of them. Oh, just have conversations with me. Have dinner with me, and I will give you $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a week to make sure that you're taken care of. All you have to do is send me some nude photos and have dinner with me. Those are the promises. I will be your sugar daddy, sugar mommy. And when you have these young adults that grew up basically on their own, their values and ethics weren't truly instilled in them. They don't realize that is wrong, and they fall prey to these predators. So where do we start? Lenox and the crew, they found a more secure off-grid holding site to hold Jaru. Amalia and Olgard and I will be heading to interrogate them there. After we are done with them, we are going to go to California to interrogate Nancy and Maxine. They were the leaders of that cult when we took down the Kirkins case. Once we gather the necessary information, we are going to start taking down these groups one by one. We don't care how long it takes. We are going to flush out these consumers, and we are going to put an end to this horrific industry of human transportation and modern day slavery. So that is going to conclude today's episode. You'll want to make sure that you come back next week so that you can see how Lenox and as Josephine and Amalia and Olgard go to talk to Jaru to get information on who they feel are the key players behind this entire industry. Now, there are multiple players involved, and some of the groups are not connected, so they have their work cut out for them, but we as a team are going to flush them all out and take down these groups one by one, starting with the consumers. Now, just wanted to tell you a little bit about some personal experiences that I've had. This is not scripted, it's totally me, real. It is eye-opening to see. Now, when I was living in Massachusetts, I did mortgages for a little while, and when I was a mortgage broker, because I can speak Spanish, I used to get sent out to, I call them new Americans, where, they're new to the country, they're getting established, and buying their first home or whatnot, living the American dream. Well, what I found at the time, this was the pre-2008, when all those unethical things were going on in the industry. I was part of the anti-predatory lending division for the bank that I was working with, and I found that a lot of the people who were taken advantage of were people who had English as a second language, and some of the things I've seen were just horrific. Not just how they took advantage of them as far as their finances, but this one particular family, they came here, and because this was after 9/11, they used to kind of use us as under the I forget, the Patriot Act. They used to kind of use us to police these things, and things would come up on the credit reports. You'd have some different alerts, and something was a little off. Now, these people, they just wanted to refinance their home. They were starting to feel like they were drowning, and when I looked at their paperwork, they were given, at the time the rates were around 6%, and these people were given a rate of 13%. So their mortgage was extremely high. They were having difficulty keeping up, and they worked all the time. So I wanted to help them. I wanted to reduce their interest rates, and I wanted to get them in a better product so that they can keep their investment. And as I started looking into things further, to make a long story short, I ended up finding that the paperwork that they had from the day they entered the country, the paperwork that they had was all false. They had paid a lawyer to help them through the immigration process, and they were given fake resident alien cards. The loan was done with a fake social security number, or somebody else's social security number. And then when I had I needed to verify the income, and they had the checks they gave me looked like a regular personal check, so I can't use this. So I said I would need to, get like a verification of income form filled out by your employer. So this was for the wife. So she's like, oh, they're really strict, blah, blah, blah. So I said, well, let me go talk to him. I'll explain what I need. It's not, a big deal. I just need the form signed so that you can refinance and get the rate lowered. This was before I realized the Social Security number was fake. So I went to, she gave me the address and told her boss that I was going to be coming. And it was like 20 degrees out, really cold, nasty, and I was in Chelsea, Massachusetts. Right? And this was near like the waterfront area, and it was all these abandoned buildings, all these like broken down looking factories. They looked abandoned. But they were not. Broken windows everywhere, boarded up stuff. And so I called her thinking I was lost. I'm like, I don't think I'm in the right place. Like, I don't see any businesses that are open. It all looks like abandoned buildings here. She's like, oh no, you're in the right place. So she has me come in, and they tell me, you have to wait in the hall. Well, first they told me I had to wait outside. I said, it's 20 degrees out. I'm like, can I at least go into the hallway? It was all really suspicious. And, the man comes out, this intimidating looking guy. And I took, I gave him the paper. He looked at me, I was wearing a suit. And he looked at me, and she was like nervous, looking down. I said, I just need this signed so that I can get them a lower rate on their mortgage, so that they don't lose their house. And like, I just need, the information, what her income is, so that we can get her approved. And he, without saying a word, he just looked at me, and he looked at her, and she said, okay, you have to stay near the door, the outside door. And then they went into the room. Well, they had left that like a crack open. So me being who I am, I'm like, okay, I want to see what's going on here. So I go over, I take a peek, and I was like, immediately, I just wanted to get out of there. All these people looked up at me, and it was hundreds of kids, older women, a lot of women, and a lot of little kids. All of them were like sardines sewing clothes. So this must be what they call a sweatshop. I was in shock, I can tell you. So I ended up going back to my bank manager, and I told him what I had discovered. And I also told them how, showed the credit report and how there was something funny on there. And so I reported everything, and she's like, okay, I'll report it to my supervisor and we'll see. She's like, but I don't think that's something that we should get involved with. Okay. You should report that to the authorities. Something fishy is going on there. And then when I discovered that somebody had used somebody else's, I don't know who set it up, but whoever set all this stuff up for them, put them in a really bad position. So I called them, and I went to their house. They didn't really speak English, so I went to their house and I explained to them how their resident alien card was fake. The house was bought under false pretenses. It wasn't any of their fault. They don't understand anything. They were trusting that these professionals were taking care of them. And I said, don't do anything. I gave them a card for this immigration lawyer that I knew from when I was in college, and I told them to call him. He'll help you. And I don't know what happened with them after that. My hopes are that they were able to get the help that they needed and get everything resolved. But it's shocking to see that. And I think out of everything, the most shocking thing to me was walking into that sweatshop and seeing that firsthand. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I can't believe that kind of stuff exists here. It's maddening. It's heartbreaking. And people need to be made aware of what really goes on. You know, we can't just look at life through rose-colored glasses and pretend like everything's perfect. There are people out there hurting, and we as a society need to do something to make it better. And it's up to us to do that. So, with that said, I am going to say goodbye for today. Make sure that you come back next week so that you can see what happens next in the story. And in the next few weeks, we will be seeing Lexa again, so you have that to look forward to. Until then, please take care of yourselves, and God bless. Thank you for watching, guys.